Hello guys, and welcome again to another episode of StarCraft 2, where I take you through the missions and how to get the achievements. Today's mission is Fire in the Sky, in the Heart of the Swarm campaign. The achievements for this mission are Fire in the Sky, which is complete the mission. Red Alert, which is don't let 5 units die to a Gorgon. Command and Conquer, reverse that. Conquer and Command. Dyslexia, my bad. Also, another good game to play. But that achievement is destroy 3 orbital command structures on normal. This mission, it seems a lot harder than it is, just because it's on a time limit, but you don't have to rush to activate your viral phagers or whatever these cluster things are. Because basically, you can let the Gorgon get all the way to just in front of your base, and then activate one of those phage units, and it'll destroy it before it gets to your base. Really, the only thing you have to worry about is don't cross too close to the Gorgon, because the path does wander back and forth across the Gorgon's flight trajectory. The other thing is you need to build up a sizable force to attack the orbital command stations, because they will be pretty well entrenched. So you're going to want to build up a decent sized force of queens and zerglings, and if you have them, hydralisks. Other than that, or you could do what I did, which was come back after you've completed the campaign with your higher level kerigan, and she can kind of do the tanking for the mission. But yeah, I kind of realized halfway through this mission, I don't have to activate these things right away. I can kind of let the Gorgon, just like I said, come down that path and get real close to the base before I activate those phage cannons, or whatever they're called. So all you really have to worry about is clearing a path for your creep tumors. Hey, tumor. Hey, creep tumor. Hey, burp, 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 burp. Next on the Muppets. Creep tumors. Yeah. That's another good thing about having a late level kerigan, is she's able to do a bunch of cool kick butt abilities, such as the grip. She can summon banelings. She has a chain lightning effect, or a bunch of other effects depending on what you decide to beef her up with at the time. So it's just kind of up to you. Another thing is, you want to clear out paths to your cannons, so this way you can let the Gorgon come all the way down that path, and then at a moment's notice you can drop that tumor onto said cannon and basically activate it. The other thing is, you want to keep building your forces, because after you've cleared paths to the cannons, you have to then go clear out the orbital stations, which I believe one is back behind our starting base, and then the other 2 are located further on in the map. And I think there's a 4th one, but I'm not sure. The other hard thing is locating all the research points, or research skeleton things, because they kind of blend in with the background on this map, which is one of the things I didn't like about some of the research points, because I did this on Wings of Liberty too a lot. It made it to where the objective you were looking for to get your research points, your kerigan levels, your solarite even, blended in really too well with the background, and a lot of people missed it even when they found it, unless they knew what they were looking for. So it was one of those things like, it didn't happen on every mission, but on a lot of missions you did miss it. So it was one of those things like you'd go back through and be like, what is this like research thing I'm supposed to be getting? And then you looked at it and you're like, oh, I thought that was part of the map itself, because sometimes they don't differentiate between what those look like, you know. So it's really hard to tell the difference sometimes. In which I thought there was one back here, but apparently this is just a factory and a barracks back here. But it's a good thing to get rid of these, because this way you're not getting ambushed by more units, siege tanks, fire bats, well, not fire bats, hellions, and marines, yeah. But yeah, this way you take out that kind of reinforcements from behind, and you see how the Gorgons made it pretty much like a third of the way through the map. You can pretty much let them keep on advancing. So, till he gets about even with that, with the cannon, then you can activate it. And then here's where the first command center is. Yeah, I went ahead and threw down a second hatchery because it's just easier to have. I want that extra larva production, because the queens don't actually, in multiplayer, when you're playing with the queens, they have this ability called inject larva, which is basically they put a timed clock on the hatchery, because the hatchery produces larvae at its own pace. But it only produces like one every 3 to 5 seconds. Actually, I think it's more than that, but and it only can produce up to 4. But when the queen does a injection on it, it can produce up to 8. And basically, when that clock runs out, it automatically spawns for larvae. So it's just one of those things like in multiplayer, it just continuously, I mean, you have to manage it and manually inject the larva, but in campaign, it will do it automatically. And the larva, I don't think it has a limit on how many larvae the hatcheries can produce, so at least not that I've run into before. So I usually spin my larva way too quick, or haven't noticed a top off on the larva, I should say. Right now I'm just kind of trying to protect the creep tumor on its approach to the next cannon. And now it's just kind of a spread around and look for troops and stuff. And there I was seeing if if touching the lava would do anything to my zergs. So apparently it didn't. So which I would have felt really funny if all my zergs just like randomly walked off into the lava. As you can see, this time I actually put up a really good defense in front of my base. Like, unlike normal, where I'm like, alright, I'm gonna do the mission. Oh wait, I'm being attacked. I should put up defense. And having to do it on the fly. Here's the second command center. See, I told you there was one pretty much right behind the base, so... You don't need too big of a force, but a good-sized force of zerglings and queens is required to take on these encroachment points, because they will be dug in with bunkers and heavy units like Vikings and stuff like that. So you'll want... they have high DPS, but what it is it kind of works in a disadvantage to them, because Zergling's strength is that there are so many of them, and there can be even more at the drop of a hat. So that's what makes them so strong, is because unless you're dealing with AoE attacks, you're just killing one at a time. And it doesn't matter if you're doing 1,000,000 damage, if you're just killing one, you've just killed one. Which is why Zergs are so good at this ambush technique where they just spawn hundreds of them, surround, and take the enemy by surprise and take them out. But if you have like the fire bats or the hellions, they have an AoE ability which makes them effective at dealing with Zerg because it's a very broad based damage, so it can really hurt the Zerg because they don't have a lot of life. They have a lot of numbers, but they don't have a lot of life. And so if you have a very heavy AoE based unit type, Zerglings will suffer for it. So that's what makes siege tanks semi good against Zerg, because they do heavy damage and they do ranged heavy damage against Zerg. So they tend to do well as long as they can keep the Zerg off them, because siege tanks, they do a lot of damage to the Zerg, but if you can get up on them, you can pretty much take a siege tank out before he can do too much damage to your units, which is why it's good to put siege tanks behind, say, like bunkers, or even, say, in the middle of your base, between, like, your barracks and your command center, or up on a cliff or somewhere like that. So this way that the Zergs have to travel around and to try to get to your tank. Because if you just put it out there in the middle of nowhere, the tank is going to die. It's just going to end dead, you know? But this is the Zerg campaign, so I should be talking about Zerg units and not the Terran stuff. That makes sense, right? Yeah, we're going to go with that. And right now I'm kind of exploring. Also, another thing is, when you're spawning units, because they do go along the zigzag, make sure they don't cross when the Gorgon is coming across a said pathway. Like I'm doing right here, is I'm trying to pull everything out from that pathway and make sure nothing kind of gets run over by the Gorgon. And as you can see, there's a little group leaving from home that I wasn't watching, and they almost catch the Gorgon. So I have to kind of like, oh shoot, and kind of pull them back, so this way they don't run into the Gorgon. I'm like, no, 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 stop, stop. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, you guys, get back over here. Do not get close to the Gorgon, because he will eat you. Yeah, this is the only time you really have to worry, because you have to worry, am I too close to the Gorgon? Because he does, like, just spit out AoEs all over the place. So, it's just one of those things, like, you gotta be careful when engaging it. Like, I don't think I had to engage it just yet, but I was just being safe so I could bring those other units across without having to worry about them. I do believe the other orbital station is somewhere back over here. And I do believe eventually they try... Yeah, there's the other orbital station. At some point they do try to attack the remaining virophages or cluster cannons, whatever the hell they're called. Yeah, whatever those things are. So you kind of want to post troops up next to these last two, because you don't want them destroyed before you can take out the last Gorgon. And the other reason I bring queens along is because they can put down creep tumors, and the more creep tumors you have close together, the faster creep spread. So if you put down like just one, creep will kind of spread at a meandering pace. But if you have a queen, if you have a creep tumor, put a creep tumor down, and then you have two queens, put two creep tumors down around it, the creep will like spread like wildfire across the map. So. Also in multiplayer, that's a really good way to keep an eye on the enemy movements. Like, if you're really good at macro, you can place creep tumors down, and it's kind of like having an invisible scout going across the map. If they don't have detection, or they don't see the creep tumor go down, they won't be able to destroy the creep tumor, so you can see anything that travels within that vicinity. Here we go. Shoot, shoot, shoot! Look, Daddy, fireflies! There's so many fireflies, what the hell? Yes, colonists. This is what you happen when you colonize planets that have bugs the size of frickin' horses. But yeah, see, like, that tank didn't have any defenses around it, so it basically died in like 2 seconds. One of the annoying parts about the Zerg is because they are so many, they can cover a lot of ground when you're trying to like get them to hide in a corner. He's like, can I place this here? I could move them out, but I'm afraid to get too close to the Gorgon, so I'm trying to keep them as much in this position as I can, so they don't get hit by that Gorgon. Sorry about that, guys. I'm pretty sure some of the veteran editors could tell I just had a little bit of a skip there in the video. It's because, for some reason, half the recording disappeared on me for a second there, and I just think I had a little mini breakdown. But, as you can see, it's back now, so, yeah. But, thank God it was at the end of the mission. So, basically, yeah, this was how to get the achievements in Fire in the Sky. If y'all liked what y'all saw and didn't have a heart attack like I did, give me a like, a share, leave me a comment down below, and hell, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, where we'll see what kind of like mistakes or screw-ups I can get myself into on the next episode. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.